What's going on, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, at BoxingWave10. Let's talk a little bit more about Teofimo Lopez and Vasyl Lomachenko. Okay. First off, shout out to everyone that was on the live coverage I did the other night. The commentary. Okay. A lot of people, a lot of viewers that night. We had a good time. We always have a good time. And shout out to the comments that was left on my video I did last night. Yesterday, I uploaded a review of the fight. I actually viewed the fight one more time. Well, twice. And, I scored it for Teofimo Lopez 116-112. Okay. Basically broke the fight down, what occurred, how I think and why I think Teofimo clearly won the fight. Okay. I did read the comments, all the comments throughout the today. You guys always leave me amazing comments, even if we disagree. There were a few people in there that scored it a draw. There were even a few people that thought Lomachenko won. But the reactions are always like good replies. I like that. Like that lets me know that I have a real channel. People are leaving long paragraphs on how they feel how the fight went. And I like that. I barely get any trolling comments these days, which is good. I go to other people's channels. It's like a war zone, and I don't want that. I want we can respectfully disagree, but we can disagree without all of the insults and stuff like that, like little kid stuff. All right, so let's talk about the future of these two. Let's start out with Teofimo Lopez. We got a lot out of him since the fight. He did a post-fight interview right after the fight, and he said a lot in that interview. All right, a lot of people didn't like what he said. He was talking about boxing and the business side of it, the politics, the media. He addressed them. Okay, he addressed Lomachenko and what he thought of him. Thought he was a good fighter, very good fighter. But he thought that night that Lomachenko was basic. All right, a lot of people didn't like that comment. But to be honest, if you think like I did, that Teofimo didn't struggle too much in that fight, I can't blame him from thinking that, I can't blame him. I mean, obviously, as a professional, it's definitely his toughest fight, at least that I've seen. But Lomachenko really didn't do much in my eyes and many people's eyes. And apparently he didn't do much in the judge's eyes that night. Okay, it was still a very good fight. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about actually scoring the rounds. All right, scoring the rounds. I believe that Teo won clearly. I believe it. And the judges believed it. I do believe that 119-109 was a little bit wide. But I even read a few comments from people that thought that 119-109 was fair. I had a good number of people that left comments that said that Lomachenko didn't win any more than 3 rounds. But I thought that the second half of the fight was very, very competitive. Some people had Loma winning in the second half. And I see why they feel that way. Because I gave Loma, all 4 rounds I gave Loma was in the second half. So yes, he did win the second half. It's just that I gave Teo the 7th and 12th rounds, which are in the second half. All right. So let's discuss the new Undisputed with a question mark champion at lightweight, Teofimo Lopez. He is the new champ. Before the fight, he said that this will be his final fight at 135, win or lose. Okay, we've seen him do interviews with guys like Regis Prograis, discussing the possibility of them fighting at 140. He's talked about moving up to 140, having issues making weight at 135. I mean, he looked good at 135. He looked good at the weigh-in. He looked good at the night of the fight. He didn't look like he was drained at all. Okay? He was sharp. He was strong. He was quick. I think he could still fight at 135. You know? Especially if he maintains his fitness. You know, one thing that he said in that one of those interviews was that you know, he's building a house with his wife, and he plans on building a gym in his house where he can stay fit, stay in shape, which is good. I always preach about that on these videos. I always say, like, you know, these fighters, they're world-class fighters. That is your job. That is your career, and that's the thing that you love to do. You must be responsible and stay fit, you know, keep yourself in shape even when you're not boxing or when you're not scheduled for a fight. At the bare minimum, all you have to do, if you don't have a day job, you know, if you're not one of these guys that are doing boxing, taking boxing on the side, if you are a world-class championship level or top contender, if you are a full-time boxer, you have to stay fit. It's very important. You know, a lot of people want to be Mayweather, but they're not willing to be that responsible. No drinking, no drugs, you know what I'm saying? Not staying fit, staying in shape. You gotta be that way, you know? I don't think Sean Porter is the greatest boxer, but I think the reason why he fights at such a elite level is because he is responsible. He maintains his fitness. You know, Chris Algieri too. I don't think he was the greatest boxer, but he was all about fitness. You know, he's I believe a nutritionist, you know, or something. So I think that's very important. I hope he doesn't take the hype too much. And I mean, he's clearly proven himself, but hopefully he stays focused on winning because he is still very young, you know. So hopefully he can just keep that mature mind of his and continue pushing for greatness, because he accomplished something huge at a very young age. He's only 23 years old, and he just knocked off arguably the pound for pound best fighter in the world. You know, wherever you have him, I don't have him as number one. I never had him at number one, but I've had him for years now in the top 5, you know, for the last 2 or 3 years or so. All right. So, excuse me. Let's talk about it. Teofimo Lopez. This is what I think he's going to do. This is what I think is possible. And I'm also going to tell you what I actually want to see. Okay? I think it's very possible for Teo to stay at 135 if he can get the Devin Haney fight. You know, he said in his that one person, I love the fact that he called out Devin Haney. You know, he called him the email champion. I love that. Keep that talking going. These guys don't have to be the best of friends. You know, whether you choose to be respectful, you know, whether you choose to talk a little shit, it really doesn't matter. I just want to see the fights. And I think at some point, I think some of the fighters got a little too friendly. And it's keeping fighters from getting in the ring because they're a little too friendly. You know? So I think that I like the fact that he called out Devin Haney. I think that's possible. It's a fight that can be made. Haney is with Matchroom. He's been fighting on DAZN. Teo is with Top Rank. He's been fighting on ESPN. There should be no problem with having that fight. Obviously, Teo is the A side because he's the one that holds 3 of the 4 major champ titles, and he has a franchise WBC title, which Mauricio Solomon recently said that that fight was an undisputed fight. But Mauricio Solomon has a history of just pulling shit out of his ass and just saying different things right on the spot. You know, originally when the franchise title came out, originally they said that basically the world full title is passed down, because once you take franchise, you don't have any mandatory obligations. You're free to move up and fight any WBC champion as you want without having to worry about mandatories. You can move up and down weights, all that stuff. But Solomon most recently said that that fight was undisputed, and this is why I said it was an undisputed fight. All right, but people don't feel that way, and they have a good reason not to feel that way. Okay, Devin Haney is the WBC world champion. It doesn't matter how it was given to him. He is a champion. All right. I would like for them to fight each other next, just to clear that up, so we can know who the real champion is. All right. I think that should be the priority for Tio, because people are always going to question his undisputedness, or whatever you want to call it. So I know he wants to move up to 140, possibly make history and fight for another undisputed opportunity at 140. But I'm not even sure if that's possible, because Jack Catterall was already a mandatory. All right, I believe for the WBO strap. And he's already agreed to step aside for these two, Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor, to fight each other. Okay, he's already stepped aside. He's been in position to fight for that title. So, being that he's already stepped aside, I seriously doubt he steps aside again. You never know, it's possible. But the winner of that fight between Ramirez and Taylor, they might not even stay at 140. You know, Taylor's been talking about going up to 147. I'm not so sure about Ramirez. But if Taylor wins that fight, I don't think he's going to be sticking around for young Tio. And another thing about that is, even if Josh Taylor were to fight a Teofimo Lopez that's coming up from 135 as the undisputed champion, it's a lot more to gain for Tio, not so much for Josh Taylor. Okay? Oh, I would love to fight. But Josh Taylor, if he has a window there to move up and possibly fight Terrence Bud Crawford, that would be the bigger fight for him. That would be the bigger win for him. You know? And he would actually win something. He would win a title. Teofimo won't be defending his undisputed titles if he were to fight Josh Taylor. So that's that's all gain for Tio and not much for Josh Taylor. You know? So I seriously doubt that happens. Same thing for Jose Ramirez. Same thing for him. You know, you win undisputed and you wait to fight Tio as he moves up to fight you. You really don't gain much, because you're not fighting for anything other than the titles you've already fought hard to win. You know what I'm saying? Tio is all gain for him. So I don't believe that fight happens because of all of those reasons. Because it really doesn't do anything for Taylor or Ramirez. Because of Jack Catterall and the fact that he's the mandatory. Because one or two of those, you know, between Ramirez and Taylor, they might move up anyway. They might not be sticking around. There's too many things that's in the way of that fight happening. And it's a big opportunity for Tio, not for those guys that's already there. You know, Taylor, especially with him, he won his belts, you know, and he won the World Boxing Super Series tournament already. So he wants to keep moving up and accomplishing more things. I think T.O. is not part of the plans for them. But there are fights up there that I would like to see T.O. get involved with, you know. Um, but T.O. might go up. And he might fight a Regis program. Or we don't know. But Devin Haney, I want to see that the most right now. I want to see that more than anything else out of all the options for Teofimo Lopez. These guys they sparred together. All right, they talked a lot of shit to each other about fighting each other. These guys are rivals, So is Tank Davis. Ryan Garcia, you could throw him in the mix too. I would love to see that fight. And I want to eliminate the argument on whether or not this fight from last weekend was a undisputed fight. If it wasn't a true undisputed fight, let's get the true undisputed fight with Devin Haney. And that would be a good fight. They're both young. They're both fresh. I think the styles are great. I think this fight over the last weekend was a great fight. It was good. It was fun. It was a win for boxing. All right. But as far as the styles, I think T.O. against Haney would be a lot more explosive because Devin is probably punches a lot more as far as volume. He's not going to be sitting around waiting. He's not downloading information. He's coming at you. And he's actually faster than T.O. But T.O.'s the bigger puncher. And T.O.'s more proven now. T.O. got not one, but two fighters on his resume, including a pound-for-pound fighter on his resume. Devin, no comparison. And that's not to take anything away from Devin, because Devin has been trying to get in the ring with the top lightweights. Okay? He's definitely tried. He's not a ducker. He's none of that. He's called out so many different fighters. So I'm not blaming him. It was just all timing. He don't have the big name yet because it's just timing and who everybody else was facing. He was going to fight Luke Campbell. He wants to fight Ryan Garcia. He's called out guys like Adrian Broner. Tank Davis. He's down to fight them all. He's not running and ducking from anyone. So I hope that's the fight we get. All right. If T.O. chooses to stay at 135, I would like Devin Haney first. But if he chooses to stay, if he is to beat Haney and stay at 135, I will also like to see him fight Tank and Ryan. If he stays. Hopefully he does a little longer. But if he moves up to 140, that's great too. Either or. But definitely get that Haney fighting. All right. Let's talk about Lomachenko. Hard loss for the dude. Great fighter. Accomplished a lot. Like I said last night, can't take nothing away from him. He did a lot. Out of 16 fights, he was able to collect titles in 3 different divisions. He was able to become unified at 135. He had 3 of the titles, 3 of the 4. He almost did it. If he is to stay at 135, which is fine, I would suggest he go down to 130. All right, because if he is trying to become undisputed, if that's a goal of his, if that still is a goal of his, I think that he can possibly do it at 130. There are dangers down there. You got Burchelt down there. You got Stevenson down there. All right. I don't know what's up with Tank. I don't know if he's just making this fight at 130 for just for the Leo Santa Cruz fight. I don't know if he's going to stick around. But I'm sure more people are going to be willing to fight him now that he lost. The few people that was ducking him. Not all of them, but the few that were ducking him. I think they are probably more willing to fight him now. I suggest he stays at 130 because I think that's where he belongs. I thought what he tried to do at 135 was great. But now that he lost, and he lost clearly to me, I don't think he needs to stay at the division. Teofimo Lopez rematch. What do I think? Well, I don't want to see a rematch. It was a good fight, but Teo won convincingly enough to me. I don't feel like I need to see a rematch. If Loma was to rematch him, do I think he would do better? Yes and no. Yes, because I think he would start out quicker. Right? No, because I think he would put himself in danger if he were to start out quicker. So I'm basically saying, yeah, there's a possibility that he could sway the judges better by not giving away all those rounds in the first half. But he would be fighting Teo, a more fresher Teo. You know, the punches are sharper earlier on. Okay? Those short right hands that Teo missed later in the fight or didn't have as much pop to him, they would hurt more earlier on. You know? So I think Loma would be more aggressive, but Loma has never been a fast starter. But we've never seen him in a rematch either. At least as a professional, we haven't seen him in a rematch. So I'm personally not interested. I think the loss, I know it's a damaging loss, but I don't think he needs to fight him again to prove anything. You know? And I don't know if he's interested. If he was interested, there would have been a rematch clause. Neither Teo or Lomachenko are really that interested. I mean, outside of after the outcome of it, Loma might watch the fight again and think like, yo, I want to get another shot at him. But I personally don't think it's going to happen. Teo's not interested in a fight. And if he doesn't take the rematch, even if Lomachenko wanted it, went public with it, Teo doesn't have to fight him again. He doesn't. I know some of you may feel like he should because Loma gave him the opportunity. You know? I know people feel that Loma won or had a draw, and because of that 119-109 scorecard, that maybe he was robbed in some way. I personally don't want to see a rematch. I think Loma can accomplish, whether he chooses to stay at 135, 130, it's still so much he can do. You know? But I would like for him to move down to 130 and go for another undisputed run if he can. He's 32 years old. This was a long, long layoff for him. It was 14 months. All right. I think he should get right back into it. This is his second loss. Get right back into it. You lost, but you tried to do something really great. And you missed it by this much. So go down to 130. Try to do it again. Go for another run. I don't think 130 is as tough as 135. But it's tough. You do have Stevenson down there. You have Burchelt down there. Whether Tank stays or not, depending on how that Santa Cruz fight goes, he'll be down there. You got some good fighters down there. All right. So we'll see. But hopefully Loma sticks around and we can get some more good fights from him. Because there's time. There's time. And get back in the ring soon. Don't wait too long. Yeah, take your few months off or whatever, but get back in there because at this age, you want to stay as active as possible because you are getting a little older. And with his style, with his athleticism, he needs to stay sharp. He's a fighter that needs to be active. He can't go on these long periods without fighting. And I'm not making that as an excuse on why he lost his fight. I thought he just lost the fight. I thought he got outboxed for 12 rounds. But if you can be any bit better, start off by getting right back in the ring. We should see him hopefully by the spring, the latest, maybe even earlier. Maybe we can get him back in the ring by March. March the latest, hopefully. All right, at 130, 135. He's still a name. It's still a name, and it was a loss, but it was an honorable loss. He took a lot of rounds. He gave a lot of rounds away, but he needs to get back in there. All right? Don't let too much time go by because you don't have that much time. You didn't get knocked out. You didn't get embarrassed. It was a good fight. I think I covered everything here. I spoke mostly on T.O. because he's a champion and I think he has a lot more options out there. All right. I'm personally not interested in a rematch. But these guys have so many options. And if Loma chooses to stay at 135, if he chooses to stay at 135, fight Haney. Fight the winner of Ryan Garcia and Luke Campbell. Fight Javier Fortuna. All of those are good fights. All of them are good fights. But if they were to actually have a rematch, even though I say I'm not really interested in it, I wouldn't be mad. Just to make that clear. That won't be bad news if they were to have a rematch. But I would prefer Lopez to fight Devin Haney. And Devin Haney got to fight in 3 weeks. He got to fight Gamboa. I really don't care for that fight too much, but it's not the worst fight of the world. I think it got more bashing than it should have. All right. I know Gamboa is past it. He is. He's definitely past it. But I'll definitely be watching that fight. Hopefully I can cover it. And I will definitely have my eyes glued on the first few rounds because I don't think Gamboa was easy for anyone early on. All right. So I'll be back on tomorrow with you guys. We could talk more about it, but I'll probably do a live chat with you guys. All right. Again, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.